The 1980s brought to the black community some really interesting R&B groups. I'll name two. New Edition was the king, and then we had Guy with Aaron Hall and Teddy Riley. But the 90s didn't disappoint. New Edition was still strong, and with their split of Bell Biv DeVoe and them still getting back together, still kept us highly entertained. We had some new competitors on the block in the black community. 112 came a little later, H-Town, Silk, Drew Hill, and my favorite, Jodeci. But nobody set the world on fire in the 90s like Boyz II Men. These young black men from Philadelphia had international appeal. It wasn't like Jodeci or Drew Hill, who were only big within the black community. These guys sold out everywhere. In fact, their reunion tour sold out in Uganda and Kenya just last year. And one of their founding members who did so well within the group was a very talented tenor by the name of Wanya Morris. And Wanya Morris continued his talents even after Boyz II Men slowed down. He married a very beautiful lady in 2002 by the name of Traci Nash. Their love brought together 6 children. 4 of them, all named Wanya after him, are in an R&B boy grand group called Wanmor. But something happened that was tragic. The relationship ended. Wanya Morris was no longer in the home. We don't know why it ended. We don't know how it ended, but it ended, and it left a bad taste in the mouth of his ex-wife Traci Nash and his sons. Then fast forward to 2019. He's now married to another lady, Amber Reyes, who's a Latina, moving on from his black family on to Latina family. But this sounds familiar to somebody else. Entering the stage, another 1990s legend by the name of Brian McKnight. In fact, Brian McKnight and Boyz II Men used to collaborate, and Brian McKnight has a very similar story. Brian McKnight was married to the very lovely Julie McKnight, but the thing is, they divorced in 2003. He was relatively single for 14 years when there wasn't an issue, until he decided to marry Leilani Mendoza in 2017. Leilani happens to be Filipino. Not only did he marry her, he adopted her daughter and son, who are both Filipino, and then they had some more children together. And Brian McKnight completely stopped posting about his black kids and only acknowledging his new children with his Asian wife. It got so bad that Brian McKnight, his concert started getting canceled because the black women that were supporting him didn't like the fact of how he was treating his black kids. And Brian McKnight had to address it.
Brian McKnight here. There's been a lot of discussion online lately about how I talk about my family on social media. Typically, I prefer not to give attention to the internet trolls, but now my family is being harassed online and accosted in public, apparently because some people can't handle seeing my happily ever after. Coming after me is one thing, but the moment you come after my wife and our children, it's another story, because even more important to me than defending my name is defending and protecting them. I want to address some of these recent discussions. There is a very simple reason why I post about some of my children on social media and not others. The children that I do not currently have relationships with, I don't post about them. Instead, I post about the children with whom I do have relationships, with whom I am proud of, and about whom I want to share my pride in their accomplishments. I don't live in the past. I live in the present and the future. I am so proud of the man I am today, the husband I am to my wife Leilani, and the father I am to our children. I'm so proud of our love, our family, our life. So I will, without apology, continue to shout about it as loud as I can.
But let's get back to Wanya Morris. What happened, and why are we talking about this right now? I mean, he just basically got married, remarried in 2019, although he was still legally married to his wife. It's now 2024. Why does the world even care? And then we found out why. Well, if you guys remember, his sons have a group called Wanmor, and I guess they're popping right now. And Mr. Wanya wanted to talk to his kids and let them know how much he loves them and really appreciates their success, but there's a problem. The kids have him blocked. So how do we know this? Well, he posted about his sons about 16 weeks ago. And then basically underneath the post, lady goes, why didn't you tag Wanmor though? He says, because I can't, I'm blocked. I had to post from someone else's post. This is my only way to show how proud I am. Since you have an opinion, maybe request that their mom unblock me. But we definitely see him posting about his new wife and everything on his new page. And she is very lovely, and they look like a very good couple. He even has mixed kids. But let's go back to the black women and the people in the community that have been really roasting his ass about his decision after they found this out. Look at this lady. You know what will never sit right with me? Wanya Morris having 6 kids with that lady, naming them all after him. Then he leaving her to marry that white lady. It's giving Brian McKnight. Now, there are many other posts that are there. I'll just focus on that one. But the question is, why did Wanya Morris leave his wife and decide to go with somebody that's non-black? Well, Brandon Tatum made a really good video on this 7 years ago, and maybe this could explain it.
I thought I'd make a video. I was thinking about this this morning when I woke up. I mean, I think about this all the time, but I was thinking about it heavily this morning because a lot of people have initiated discussions with me about this. Obviously, I have my own personal thoughts and experiences with this certain subject, but it came up and it keeps coming up time and time again about why do black men date white women? Now, I'm going to tell you what, over time, I've noticed that it is it's something that's trending more than it used to, 20 years ago or whatever. From my perspective, from my opinion, and what I've seen personally. And what I like to say about it is it has more to do with culture than it does race.
Well, he says something that's pretty interesting. It's not always about color or race. It's about culture. Now, I have a good buddy of mine that, he's been supporting me on YouTube for almost a decade. And his name is Larry, Uncle Larry. And he runs a channel called American Brazilian. And he said something very interesting that I wanted to really point out as to why he picked a Brazilian wife this time than marrying somebody from our community.
As a black man, and having conversations with other black men, the reasons why we think that, or we are attracted to many Latinas, is because they focus on aesthetics often. It's been said that I'll speak about the Brazilian community, is that they can be kind of vain. And what that means is their appearance is extremely important. So much so to where if you go, say, to Brazil and you are out like at night sometimes, or even during the day, you may see somebody and they're not dressed in after 5, but their appearance is of such to where when we see it, it's like, oh man, they must be going somewhere. When in fact, that's just what they decided on a regular basis to do when they go out, when they step out of the house, because their appearance is very important to them, and they understand the concept of competition. So it's you see women that are, I guess if you put them over here, they would probably be 10s and 12s, but over there they might be adjustable 6s or 7s.
So again, that's something about culture. He's talking about the fact that women in Brazil, they're trying to compete for their man, and sometimes that might not happen here. The reality is this: we really don't know why the man left his 6 kids and went over to another lady. And I would assume that basically the kids feel some sort of way. I mean, when my parents divorced, when you're young and you don't really know your dad's side of the situation, it's easy to take your mom's side of the situation. And I'm not saying that he's not at fault here, but the reality is this: a lot of black men make this sort of decision once they have married somebody from the black community. It is very, very common to see black men marry black women as their first wives, never to marry black women ever again. It even happens in the pro-black community. Now, you might have a brother married to somebody in the African-American community, and when they get married again, they're marrying somebody from Africa, they're marrying somebody from the Caribbean. And it could also be when you're young, you don't really know what you're looking for. It also could be, you really just don't understand how to be a man, and maybe things are just messed up and wrong. But the reality is that it's probably not a color thing in the first place. And the reason why I'm saying that is is because he would have had the opportunity to get any kind of woman in the 90s of any color when Boys the Men was hot. It has to be something like, okay, I need a woman that's going to do this or treat me in this sort of way. And people want to make it seem like it's always, you know, you left your black kids to go to a non-black woman. And of course, if I had 6 kids, I would do my best to stay with those people, right? I mean, that's just me. But a lot of this is the culture of how a woman wants to be in a relationship. A lot of Latino women, and I'm not saying that you can't get your Negro wake-up call from over there, but the guys that I always see dealing in the DR or dealing in Brazil and things like that, and of course things can go wrong, it seems like they're doing that because they feel like they get more of a family vibe. The woman is a more submissive. The woman wants to do things for you as a mate. And if you can't get that with your current mate, probably when you go to the next mate, that's going to happen. And I'm going to tell you also another thing that happens. A lot of times when you divorce a chick or you break up with her, she doesn't expect that you're going to do very well with the next lady. And unfortunately, that's not always the case. And it's probably what happened here. He was able to get somebody that was younger, of another race, another community, and maybe the mother had some level of resentment towards that. And I'm pretty sure that bothers her. And, you know, she's telling the kids to unblock him or whatever. I'm not trying to say it's all her fault. It could be both of their faults, but expect to see this happening more often. And I wish that our black people could stay together, especially black men and black women. But this is something that's happening a lot. It's picking up a lot. You got so many black men in today's world that are not even considering to be race loyal. And that's a problem. Why are so many black men feeling like this? Why are so many black men looking to take their talents elsewhere and not with the same beautiful women they grew up seeing in the community? I can only think of it. It's just that they feel that the other races of women might be willing to compete for them more than the women in their community. Maybe it's too much familiarity. I'm not sure, but this is what's happened. So guys, what do you think? It's your boy, Shirley Jackson, back at it again with another episode of The Celebrity Drunk. I appreciate you for all that you do. Subscribe to the bell. We're out.